So you probably know I love mood boards, and for me, if there's a bigger project, I always start with making a set of 5 mood boards: concept, composition, color, typography, and icons. But there are other strategies to get started. So if you know any good strategies from like sketching, obviously, or other inspiration, or if you have some kind of strategy, please write it in the discussion, because it would be really good to know. Everybody has a little bit different, but a very common one is doing mood boards, especially when it's something about yourself, where you have to find your own personality as a brand, or for other people too. But now we're designing our own brand here. So the logo is the tip of the iceberg that people can see, but there's much more: the look and feel, the colors, the tone, the language, the message that you want to say. What is it all about you? So you need to find out who you are, and that's obviously really hard. But I think with mood boards, it's something you can find a lot of pictures, music, sketches, smells, found objects, but mostly pictures. I think it would be pretty easy because we're so visual. So we can put these 5 mood boards together to kind of narrow down who we are. And you can see, once you put a lot of pictures together, don't be too choosy, just keep collecting. Don't find too many reasons around it, because once you have this whole pile, you'll see collecting parts of mood boards that are more, you can see clusters coming together. So the first mood board, or one of the 5, is for me is concept, and it sounds really difficult at first, but you can see here the concept of reflecting on yourself or going into another world as an artist, for example. A concept of walking blindfolded into the store and seeing where you are going on the bottom here. There are different pictures that have different concepts, or you can spark something, or if you're a networker, you can have a telegram, or cables that are connected, or a network, or something like that. So think about who you are as a person and come up with this concept. What other, like, how could you visualize that? Also with compositions, are you very structured? Are you a very perfect circle? Are you always right? Are you always composed? Or are you more wild, artistic, and wobbly around this? And like, these are different. These circles are different personalities in the composition. The color also has a lot of meaning, and when you don't know a reason for the logos, you can start researching. There are many books that talk about traditionally what colors meant, and many people have written a lot of theory about it. This is kind of good to have as a reason, because you might not be really sure what color you are. And then you can find different color palettes on Dribbble. You can save them out. I used to do that. It's kind of a neat thing to do. Typography, obviously, a lot of the stuff that you will have to design on a brand will involve some kind of type. So you have a resume, you have a business card. All of these have type on it. So obviously you have to think about what kind of typeface you want to use. And there are many that can totally give different messages, as you can see here. Icons are sort of the super primal typography. Before typography, we had icons like hieroglyphics even that just sounded like that, and alphabets were born out of that. It's another story, but primal icons should make it immediately clear what this is about. Maybe there are like different kinds of icons, like pictorial, that literally mean the camera or the printer. Or metaphorically, it could be the lock. It's not really a physical lock that we go into a key to unlock a password on a website, or a cloud that we're saving files onto some kind of cloud in the sky. These are metaphoricals. And then abstract symbols like a play button. I mean, who came up that this would be a triangle? It wasn't there. The Wi-Fi symbol obviously wasn't there in the 90s. People didn't know what that was, but it kind of evolved as something. So this knowledge is sort of a convention that we learned, and you need to know about this because other people will understand it like that. When I went to Japan, I thought it would be neat to have a cover letter written only out of icons. So here it goes like, "Dear, I really like you. Me personally, I was born in Germany. I went to New York in 1991. Then I moved to Tokyo in 2013, and my portfolio is mostly websites, videos, record covers, and I work for a lot of labels, so please call me." Back then it was also still landlines. Or we can meet eye to eye. So here are the 5 boards, like I will explain it again. For example, these are all different concepts, so they wouldn't be on one mood board, but just examples for strong conceptual pictures. I thought these squirrels, when they're saving up the nuts for the winter, this was a company I worked for that wanted to attract life insurance advertisers. So this would be one of the concept pictures that I put on the mood board. Or on the right side, top right, is a sculpture by Michelle Lopez, and she exploded these chemicals on a glass, and I thought this it's still very pretty, but it's also brutal looking, and this feeling of breaking and exploding without cracking the glass, I thought was very powerful, yet very fragile. So I think there's a concept that you could be using somewhere, or that broken TV screen, like technology is breaking, you would be a pirate, you're trying to destroy the system, or this powerful monster truck with all the lights, of course, is so full of itself, as opposed to the picture with Greta and Obama, it's very quiet, but still there's a lot of tension between the two. Even though Obama is the more powerful man, he knows that Greta has a more powerful concept and will probably live longer than him. So she's actually the more powerful one, and she knows it too. They kind of both know it. So there's a string between the two. You can almost see it. So these are concepts. Compositions, on the other hand, could be like, this brutalist architecture is very different than those little snow-covered houses with the different colors. Or this very balanced Zen-like structure is very different than that amorphous, druggy, psychedelic cover on the top right here that doesn't have any grid, as opposed to on the bottom right there's this grid from the Swiss. In 1968, Otto Eicher designed these tickets for the Olympics in Munich. So they're very different compositions to think about. Color, wanted to show you this one because I think it shows that not every red has to be hot. There's a very cold red, I think, on the top right here. And this boat is like colored in. It comes from a different generation. It has a different feeling, this summery, but very warm and very like a simpler life. But these colors kind of convey that to me as well. Typography, of course, there's a lot of history, and they all bounced off each other. So the punk on the bottom right here would be a direct reaction to the hippies before that, which were more hand-drawn and flowery, which was a reaction to the more warlike propaganda, which was a reaction to, and so on and so on. It goes on and on. And after the hippies, after the punk was like techno, and then after the techno was do-it-yourself, and then after that, it kind of all like bounces each other. So you can, if you know this historical context, you can use these typefaces for your message. Icons, we talked about it before, very simple. And I think lately there's sort of a discussion if designers should have a logo, because we are a brand, but we shouldn't be a corporate brand or so, because we need to be versatile. And so I thought about that, but also now these days in digital, you always have to think about the apps that you can use this for, because we all gonna have to use it somewhere very, very small, digitally, maybe just at the bottom, at the top of the tab window, these little fav icons, up to a very large logo that could be blown up on an entire building. So you have to think how versatile your logo can be, and we'll talk about that in good and bad logos later. I don't really show the clients my mood boards because it can end up confusing them. On top, they will ask me like, why am I paying you? Why are you spending time like collecting pretty pictures and having so much fun? I'm not paying you for that. I just want my logo. But if they understand it and they see it sometimes, like Alex here, he saw the mood boards, he liked them so much, so he expected the layout to look like the mood boards, and he really insisted on having these kind of tiled picture galleries, which wasn't too bad, but it wasn't exactly at first what I wanted to design for. But in the end, actually kind of glad that he liked it so much. But so these are some mood boards that I did for myself for a brand called Boys and Girls. I'm trying to revive a little bit. Compositions, very and colors, typographies, experimental stuff, icons that I liked, and this is what the card for myself was. And for example, here I'm describing myself as a networker. You can clearly see those, and then the touching, and I live in different worlds of Asia and New York. So I put pictures of that in there. If you're a New York designer, definitely that's one of the concepts, probably. Composition was more amorphous for me, like here you can already start seeing this kind of squid-like animal that I'm using later on. And the colors, because I used to do a lot of video, and most of my stuff is digital based. So those are RGB colors. And the typefaces are more on a techno, NYC, some typefaces I find in Japan that I really liked. Icons the same, here some brands that I like more of a chemical stuff. And I ended up sketching after that these networks, and I came up with this kind of squid-like made out of the RGB colors, and that became the business card and the logo at the end. So where do I find those pictures? One would be on Pinterest. That you can make Pinterest boards, but I don't like Pinterest too much because you cannot really rearrange or rescale the images. So I still think it's better to make your own in Photoshop and Illustrator or any other program that you can put the pictures together and kind of start making a library for yourself that you can go back. These are kind of pre-approved pictures that you already know that you have some kind of connections to them, instead of just going blindly all over the web, because there are so many places where you can find pictures. And if you find good websites with interesting pictures that are more abstract in the kind of concepts, so please write them down below in the list. I made a whole bunch of choices to find good pictures too. But there are always new websites, and if you know any, it would be really interesting for all of us to share this. Thank you.